Hello Rams, Litos Castro here, your favorite CTV Entertainment anchor, and I have the full 411 for you, so hold on tight, let's get started. What if I told you that there was one day every month where you could walk around and have as much free food as you wanted? Well, that's exactly what I have to tell you, because there's a little event here in Fort Collins called the Foodie Walk.
If you haven't heard of the Foodie Walk, it's simply a time where you can take your taste buds on an adventure, visiting 13 culinary shops right here in downtown Fort Collins. And it's clearly something that can be fun for everyone.
I would definitely say it's free and it's fun and it's a good way to just kind of go to different parts of Old Town rather than your usual 3 stores you go to.
If you're somebody who loves eating food and trying out new things, then the Foodie Walk is something you may want to look into. Because as you walk into each store, it's a new experience for you to try out.
Well, I love the variety of people who come through, because sometimes we'll have visitors from out of town who will select Foodie Walk as something to do as an entertainment. But lots of times we'll have people who come every month and make it part of their, oh, it's Foodie Walk night, let's go do it. So I love having that variety.
Whether you've done the Foodie Walk before or have yet to take yourself on the tour, it's a new and fun experience for everyone.
The Foodie Walk takes place on the 3rd Friday of every month, so be sure to head out next month on your tasty adventure. Now, as the weather begins to change here in Fort Collins, it certainly doesn't mean that the amount of fun you can have has to change as well. So I came up with a list of fun and cheap things you can do right here in Fort Collins. First recommendation I have is a fun little place called Pinball Jones right here in Old Town. Now, this is a great place to let out the inner gaming nerd inside you. Don't deny it, I know there's one there. There's a wide selection of arcade games, an air hockey table, and 25 pinball machines. So basically, it's arcade heaven. If you're into a night of classic gaming with friends and have about 20 bucks in your pocket, you're all set for a night of fun. But hey, if you're not into that gaming atmosphere, I have another idea for you. So the next one I have is maybe you could go ice skating. There's a place right here in Fort Collins where you can get some skates and go have some fun on the ice. If you literally only have a few bucks to spare, head to the skating rink in Old Town, because it's only $2 to skate and $1 for skate rental. I guarantee it will be a ton of fun, even if you're like me and you fall once or twice, or 3 times, or like 10 times. It doesn't matter. The point is, I highly recommend giving the skating rink a visit because it is a ton of fun. And finally, this last one is something you won't even have to leave home for. Simply make some hot cocoa, snuggle up with a comfy blanket, maybe pull out a good book to read. If you're like me and have no idea how to read, then maybe put on a movie to watch or something like that. Better yet, invite some friends over, play some board games or some card games. As we get this new semester started, it's important that we take one day every now and then to take the school stress off with some fun. Now, Rams, I have Thursday night CTV Entertainment anchor Ryan Crist here to talk to you about, you guessed it, Star Wars. Ryan, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So, we've both seen the new movie.
Yes.
So we're going to do a little bit of a spoiler-free version for this first minute here. Now, as far as what your first impressions were after you saw it, what were you thinking?
First impressions, I thought it was pretty good. I liked it, but I thought there were some key parts wrong with it. The majority of it was kind of not the best, and that's what really got me after I left. I enjoyed some of the scenes, but the good scenes were good and the bad scenes were bad. Okay.
And I guess I kind of have to be on the same page with you a little bit there. Personally, I didn't like it too much. If we're staying on that spoiler-free range, I would not have seen it if I had known what I was going into. So now that we've kind of covered that area, we are going to go into spoilers. So if you're tuning in and you haven't seen it yet, might want to back off a little bit. Yeah. So first off, I want to talk about Snoke and how you feel about his presence in the movie.
Yeah, I felt like his presence was kind of useless. He gets up there, he's in his big chair and he's all scary, and then he dies like in 2 seconds, and I was like, what? I thought that dude was going to be, the guy we were going to try to, go after for the entire movie, but Rian Johnson took that in a completely different direction than J.J. Abrams did, and that's kind of the problem with them having 2 different directors back to back, because it's really conflicting visions. You know, Rian Johnson didn't want Snoke to be this, you know, new kind of Emperor Palpatine, and when J.J. Abrams did, so it kind of created some conflict. So I really did not like the build-up and the, you know, what we got with him.
Yeah, and I was actually, I was assuming he was going to be a pretty big role. I mean, they showed him at the very beginning, and you know, he even pulls the general down from, you know, his little home base, if you will, and the general's on his ship, and he just pulls him down with the Force from wherever he is, and you know, that's kind of that first like, oh, dude, he has power, and then he's gone in like the first 5 seconds of, you know, screen time that he gets.
Yeah.
So now let's talk about Luke. Now, Luke was a big debated topic, and I'm very interested because I've heard multiple viewpoints on this.
Right.
What did you think about Luke?
Let's see. I loved Luke except for one scene, and that was when you know, Rey was handing him the lightsaber. Because in the last one, you know, we sat for like probably 2 hours of the movie staring at Rey and Luke spinning around them as she's handing it to him, and he's not saying anything.
Yeah.
And then you know, you get there and you're waiting for this dramatic scene, and he like throws it behind his back. And I thought that was like, okay, we already have enough comedic relief. We didn't need any more. And yeah, but everything else with Luke, I really liked it. Even though the Force was kind of weird, they got a little creative, I guess, with the Force's abilities, and I actually liked it. I thought it was pretty good.
Unfortunately, I kind of have to disagree with you. I thought Luke was more just kind of a little bit on the whiny side almost. It wasn't the Luke personally that I know, because I know Luke as, you know, he's the guy that's, you know, full of wisdom, and his experiences in the past have made him this changed person. And it was hard for me, especially when it came to him and Kylo, for him to say that he saw the darkness in Kylo and decided he wasn't going to even take a chance. And for me, that doesn't seem very Luke-like to me. That seems, to me, Luke would have at least let him made a choice before before Kylo did anything. And that was one of the biggest things that I disagreed with on the Luke aspect of it, because I didn't feel that it was the truthful Luke that I always know. But we can move on from that now. Since we're on Luke, why don't we talk about the person he was training throughout the movie, Rey. So what did you think about Rey?
Rey, I thought she was much better in this one. I thought the last one, it seemed like they kind of threw in there, and like you said about how Luke was kind of whiny, I thought Rey was a little whiny in the first one, just kind of, you know, annoying, trying to, very gung-ho, when I was like, I thought you just were a scavenger. You literally did nothing, and now you're trying to, you know, do everything. But in this one, I did like her more. I liked her and Kylo Ren's relationship, and I really like how they conveyed that cinematically, and just how they kind of grew together. I loved how she grew as a person and a character in this arc.
And that's definitely fair. And the one thing that popped up to me is a question that did not get answered, is because Snoke says he's the one that allowed them to talk to each other through the Force. So now I believe the question is, unless I missed it, is how are they going to, or are they going to be able to communicate through that same way now that Snoke is dead? And like, what do you think about that?
Right. Correct me if I'm wrong, I think at the end of the movie when Rey was, you know, getting onto the ship, she kind of looked back, and then they cut to Kylo looking back as well.
Oh, you're right.
So I don't know, maybe it like Snoke just needed to like push them to unlock that kind of ability, and if so, that'd be kind of cool. It's a really interesting idea to have your main protagonist communicating with the main antagonist throughout the movie. I feel like that's a really interesting dynamic.
Yes, and speaking of being able then for them to communicate, how did you feel about? Did you think that maybe they were actually going to team up, maybe, and during that, you know, after Snoke has fallen and they start taking on the Red Troopers there? Did you think that there was a chance that they were actually that Rey was going to drop her alliance with the Rebels, anything like that?
Yeah, I thought it was a possibility. I kind of looked like that for a second, because we know Kylo wouldn't swap to Rey, because then, like, who's the bad guy? That general guy, the blonde guy? Like, I don't think he's not that scary, you know? So I feel like it would have to be Rey switching to his side. And, you know, of course they didn't, because she's the main protagonist, and they've already built her up so much. So it would be kind of cool and interesting if they did that, but I'm glad they didn't.
And as far as more key decisions that they made with main characters, the last one, as far as a key character that I want to talk about, is Finn, and his very last moment for him to try and save everybody from them breaking down the big wall.
Yeah.
And he's shut down by one of his own teammates.
Yeah, that was fun.
What was your reaction when you saw that?
He totally could have made it. That was my first thought. I was like, dude, you're so close. Like, but honestly, in all seriousness, with Finn, I did not like him at all in this one. I thought he was great in the first one. You know, he was this really cool protagonist, and in this one, his scenes were, in my opinion, worthless. I think if you really want this movie to be good, you just go to the bathroom when Finn comes on, and then right when he's off, you come back. And that's when the movie gets good, you know, is when you just omit his scenes because it didn't really further the plot, and of course his plot did end up failing, and his arc didn't really do anything. He kind of started the movie and ended the movie in the same place. So I really did not like where they took him in this one.
That's fair. Would you felt that maybe it would have been a little bit more credit to him if they actually would have had him sacrifice himself?
Yeah, if he did sacrifice himself, if he did make it but ended up, you know, sacrificing himself, I feel like that would have been a lot of build-up for one character, you know, but it would have definitely made him more satisfying in this role.
Okay, well, I'm glad we were able to cover some of those key issues there, but unfortunately that is all the time we have for tonight. Thank you, Rams. Thanks for tuning in with us. Be sure to check into CTV News, follow us on Twitter at CTV11, and tune in tomorrow night for Ram Life Entertainment. Have a great and safe night, Ramley.